All right, everybody, how are you doing? I'm glad to be here with you. So, this is a little different. Quick intro. For people who may not have seen this before and may be wondering, what are you doing, Mike? What is this about? Back in 2020, I started a channel called the Old Man Digital World where I was playing video games and talking about sci fi trailers, movie trailers, and all that. And I could never really get into it the way I wanted to. And partially that's because, well, life was difficult. I mean, we had the lockdowns and the pandemic. I was running for an elected office. It never quite worked out, which, no big deal. But I was talking to a friend of mine last week, Larry Sharp, and I've talked to my friend John Rastusha on and off about this and said, you should get back into that. You should do that. Play the video games, do life, because politics is not life. Man needs more than politics alone. And they were right. They, of course, were absolutely correct. And man does need more than just politics to live. And I do play lots of video games. I love my anime. I love my sci-fi books and movies and TV shows. And I said, you know what? Fine. I'm going to relaunch the Old Man Digital World. Maybe I'll change the name. It's up to you guys. You let me know. But I will get back into it. And so every Saturday at 3 o'clock, I'm going to be here with you talking about the things that I love, the things that are not politics, talking about the video games, the movies, the sci-fi predominantly that I enjoy, the comic books, and also playing games from time to time so you can see that. Now, I'm not going to promise you that I'm good at video games. I'm not. But I will enjoy playing the games, and you can enjoy watching me die, because I die a lot in the video games I play. That's fine. I can live with that. But I want to have that moment. I want to get back into that. Let's call it a palate cleanse. Given what we've been going through in 2024 so far, we need something different, don't we all? We need something that's not a horrific change of what we've been doing and how things have been. And so that's what this is all about. Now, the first thing I did want to mention, though, it's not political, but it is. One of the things I love is Warhammer 40K. I got into Warhammer 40K back in, I think it was 92, 94, somewhere in there, in the mid 90s. I got into Warhammer 40K. And I was a fan. I was going down to their Manhattan. They had their store in Manhattan towards the Lower East Side. Loved it. Used to collect a lot of the characters. And when I lost my house, I lost all my characters. So when I saw this, the first female custodies, there is only one true answer for a fan of Warhammer 40K. That is heresy. The idea of a femstodes is heresy, and I cannot stand it. I do not support it. I do not support what we are seeing come out of the Warhammer 40K universe. It's horrible. They're making it woke. Please stop. Stop with the woke hammer. Stop with the femstodes. That's not Warhammer. Get rid of it. Go and make something else. Do that if you want to. We have the Sisters of Battle. We have the Sisters of Silence. We don't need femstodes. Stop it. Just stop. But that isn't what I wanted to talk about today. When I was talking to my friends, Larry Sharp, last week, and I said, you know what? I'm going to restart it. I'm going to get back into it. I'm going to talk about things that I love. And one of the things that I love, and I look forward to seeing anyone's comments, I know it's completely out the blue. It has nothing to do with politics. So I know there's people who are going, what's going on? And people who are into all the Warhammer, the sci-fi, they're saying, get on with it. Okay, guys, I'm restarting here. I'm getting into the flow of it. But oops, wrong thing. Bear with me. One of the things that I love, and I think is fantastic, Farscape. I know a lot of people may not be familiar with Farscape. It's one of the best science fiction shows on TV ever. It's one of the best science fiction, point blank, full stop. I think it's fantastic. It's one of my favorite shows. And I know nowadays a lot of people are going backwards in time trying to find entertainment that they'll enjoy, characters that they'll enjoy, something that they can get into that lasts a couple of seasons, or maybe that they can, what do you call it, stream, binge watch, that'll be entertaining. And I mean, you have your choices of The Acolyte. You could watch She-Hulk. You could watch the various Disney Marvel TV shows. They suck, like Echo this year. You could watch that if you want. I wouldn't. And God, why spend the money on that? It's not worth it. You're going to spend, what, $20 a month, $30 a month for your Disney Plus subscription, and you're going to get things like Echo, The Acolyte, Ahsoka. We're talking about bottom of the barrel, horrible, destroys over and over. These things are destroying Star Wars. People just don't love it anymore. You can go to Paramount and you can watch the Star Trek Discovery. It finally canceled and ended itself, but no one loved that. No one liked that. Again, because of the same reason, it went woke. It just abandoned the fans. And so people are going back and they're like, I'll watch Star Trek, the original series. People are going back and I'll watch Star Wars, the original series. Or maybe even the prequels. And the rest of this stuff, it doesn't exist anymore. We don't pay attention to it. Well, before all of that started happening, go back in time. There was something called Farscape back in 1999. I think this is this character, Scorpius, I think he's one of the best characters in all of science fiction, okay? This guy is one of the original badasses out there. I think he's one of the great villains of science fiction. I truly do. I think that Scorpius embodies just about everything that is great about a villain. And I want to share that with you. I want to have that conversation. And if you want, you can type in a comment. This is on a couple of different channels right now. You can tell me, Mike, I don't agree, or I think it's something different. But that's up to you. I know there's Darth Vader. He's like number 3 all-time greatest villain ever. And that is slowly being whittled away when we keep seeing what they did to Anakin and what they're saying in the various TV shows. They're destroying his legacy, but he's still iconic. He survived all of those changes. Darth Vader is still impressive. I mean, think about it. I even did a video about Darth Vader. In fact, it was, where is it here? Back in 2021, I did a video talking about the last 2 minutes. Let me see if I can play part of that. Where I'm talking about yeah, here it is. And this is also on my channel, Tears of Voss. You can see it in full there. But I just talk about, and I'm just going to play this for one quick second here with you guys. And you'll see what I mean. This made nearly $1 billion. This is Rogue One. And the reason why everyone watched Rogue One was this reason. That's right. And look at the fear, the palpable fear, as he just starts walking forward effortlessly. He's cutting through these guys. The terror is right there in their faces. He's walking through them as if they didn't actually exist. He's having no trouble whatsoever. They have nothing that they can do. They can't stop this power. He is immeasurable. He is insurmountable. And he is doom. He is death. And the plans have to get... Okay. So that's like 30 seconds. 30 seconds of video of a scene from a movie out of about the last 2 minutes. It's iconic. It's iconic because it's Darth Vader. He's one of the greatest bad guys ever in history. And yeah, given that, I'm going to say this guy, Scorpius, is right up in the same league with that man. That Scorpius is right there alongside Darth Vader as one of the greatest villains. And if we're going back, and we all are, and we're looking for TV shows that actually are good, that have great characters, that have great storylines that we can get invested in so that we can be distracted from the insanity of what is everyday life, the politics, the job, all the bills and the problems. If we want to get invested in something and just drift away into a universe that we can enjoy just for an hour, a half hour, whatever time it is you have, then you need something that's great. You need heroes that are heroes. You need bad guys that are bad guys. We don't need the Jedi to be as evil as the Sith, like we saw in The Acolyte. No one wants that. That doesn't work. That's not a great hero. And I'll get into Chimera in a moment, but in a little bit. But that's not a show that you want to be invested in, where the bad guys are somehow the heroes. They have the moral high ground. I don't think so. No, my bad guys are bad guys. And I want them to be smart, and I want them to be capable. Not like Grand Admiral Thrawn and Ahsoka. I don't want them to be bumbling fools that constantly fail, and the only reason why they're still around is because everyone is so inept around them that they just survive. That's not captivating. That's not what's motivating. And that's why I love this character, Scorpius, which some of you may not know. This is a great quote from Scorpius. "I have no desire to dominate the universe. Know this. The wormhole technology in your brain could swing the balance of power. Imagine the ability to move an army in an instant. The power to make hostile planets disappear." Now, I think this is a great quote for Scorpius. I think this is a great quote for a bad guy. Not your traditional mustache-twirling black hat bad guy. I mean, a real bad guy. A bad guy who's actually thinking, someone who's smart, who's got a plan, somebody who has ambition, somebody who has a goal, and he's going to get there. He believes in everything is right based on the objective, the ends. The ends justify the means, and he doesn't care what he has to do to get there. He's going to get to that end. He's going to get to that objective. He tells you right here, oh, he doesn't want to dominate. He just wants the power to put an army anywhere instantly. He just wants the power to control universes. That's what he wants. Now, that would terrify you. And if you know nothing about this character, that should give you an indication that something is going on here. This guy has a plan. This guy, he may say he doesn't want power, but he's definitely using power. He definitely wants to use that power against someone, and you better hope it's not you. I think that's really motivating. I think that's great for a bad guy. This is someone I can get invested in. This is someone I can hate, that I can pour my anger into and yet still be captivated to see the way that he does that. He's got a plan. And when I watch him, it's not that he's just going to fail and be stupid and everyone's going to be inept and it's going to be the Keystone Cops in space. That's not what I'm looking for. That's not fun. That's not something I want to see week after week. But what I do want to see week after week, and from 1999 until 2004, that's what people did come to see week after week, to see this guy, Scorpius, because he was the bad guy. The Farscape series went for, it was from 1999 until, 2003. There were 88 episodes. Scorpius was in 61 of those episodes. He wasn't meant to be more than in one, maybe two episodes. That's it. A 2-episode character. Done. But because of the reaction of the fans, back in the days when all the movie studios, the TV shows, the corporations were paying attention to fans, and when fans told them something, they reacted to it. When the fans said, keep that character, they would. When fans said, I like this, they made more of it. Rather than trying to shove something down your throat like the Femstodes, no, they were actually saying, hey, this is what you want, we'll give you more of what you want. So that whatever you're enjoying, you get to enjoy it even more. How's that for feedback? You want to talk about something to get invested in? Why get invested in something where they're doing the exact opposite of what the fans actually want? The paying customer is being force-fed slop when they're asking for steak. You're not going back to that place. But that's not what we had at the beginning of the 2000s, the beginning of the millennium, in watching Farscape. We were getting what we wanted. They were reacting and changing the script, changing the characters, because the fans were saying, hey, I love that character. That has potential. I want to see more about that. Now, I know there's some people today, you could never make Farscape today. There are the people out there who love to scream about their ists and their phobes, and they'll tell you, oh my God, there's no black people there. I don't care. They'll tell you, oh my God, there's not enough women in there. Are you kidding me? About half the cast are women, good and bad guys. Are you crazy? Set aside the modern day, modern audience crap, and let's actually just look at the series for what it was. It has an IMDb score of 8.3, Rotten Tomatoes score of 90%. This is back when Rotten Tomatoes had a score based on people actually watching stuff, not the modified scores, not the verified, corporate corrected scores. This is what people said. And this has lasted for over 25 years. People have said, they've come back over and over again to this show. And again, the reason for that is Scorpius is a great villain. And he makes the good guys, the heroes, the protagonists, he makes them better because he's great. Think about it. There is no great show, no great movie, no great book in sci-fi, in fiction overall, that you can name. I can't name one that doesn't have a great villain. Star Wars, well, you had Vader, you had Luke. He raised up Luke, he raised up Han Solo, he raised up Leia. Because Darth Vader was that powerful. Think of anything. You look at, Blade Runner. That's what I was looking for. Blade Runner. And Harrison Ford versus Rutger Hauer. Rutger Hauer was so great. That's why you saw Harrison Ford be that good. Deckard only became better because of Roy Batty. And that is the key. You have to have a good bad guy. And if you have a great bad guy, you will have a great show. Hell, that's why we have shows like Hannibal, and why Hannibal Lecter is such a standout. Another great villain, making everyone else around him look that much more interesting, keeping us motivated and captivated. I'm just trying to make the case that if you look at Farscape, you're going to see a show that's going to be worth your time. And I know people are looking for it right now. You're looking for a show that you can watch, just like I am, because you're not getting it. I mean, there's things like The Gentleman, which I think is a great series. I think you should watch The Gentleman. That is a great TV series as well as a good movie. But that's one season. It's not enough. And there's not enough action either. But I think you can get it with Farscape. I want to show you a clip. Farscape is so original. It's so unique. And you can't get this anywhere else. Here's just a part of the episode, We're So Screwed. Now, there are spoilers that I'm going to be talking about here. This is from season 4, the last official season before they did a miniseries, 2-part miniseries to end the show. But this is in season 4. It's towards the end of their run. But I think this is a great example of why you can't do this again. You can't make this show today. You can't have this much fun.
Emperor Starleague, despite what your Minister of War might believe, this offer of peace is genuine. Every day you fail to take it seriously, we build more and more.
So, to put this in context for people who don't know, you have a bunch of aliens. Again, it's sci-fi. A bunch of aliens are sitting together in a room. They're deciding whether or not they're going to go to war. And they're threatening each other at the same time that they're talking about whether or not they're going to have peace. So I want to give you context. And all of them want this character, John Crichton, the hero, the protagonist of Farscape, or one of them. He's the only human being, the only earthling. I know some of them look like regular human beings. They're not. Just John Crichton. He's the only human being. And they all want him because they think he knows something that they want. So that's the background of this scene. Let me go on.
More wormhole weapons. Soon, the urge to use one will become irresistible.
Not to interrupt your bluster, but we have a guest who should make these talks even more amusing.
John Crichton.
John Crichton is our main good guy. He's the human being. He's the guy and the only human being and some other part of the universe. Just him. He's the only human being around. This is Erin Song. She's one of the co-leads of the entire series. She looks like a woman. She's not. She's not a human being. She's in an alien species that looks like human. They're not. So, and she also happens to be John's girlfriend. So if you're looking at, I need to watch a series where I can ship the characters, here you go. This is the perfect match. These people have so much chemistry. Most people think they were actually married in real life. Most people think that they're husband and wife because you just don't get that kind of chemistry outside of like real life. They're that good. But let's see. This is John Crichton. I love this. This is going to explain to you how good the series is. It really is.
Partner, what did we miss?
You've taken a great risk coming here. Why shouldn't I just have you seized right now?
Well, maybe this.
What's that?
Plutonium core. Tritium shell. Does that translate?
A fishing ball. Put those down!
Nice threads. You must be the Emperor.
Don't you love how they're not talking down to you? We're being introduced to characters. We're being told about some of the science-y stuff that's going on there. But you're not being talked to like an idiot. It's intrinsic in the world itself. It's not, every little detail isn't quite explained, but you're getting the context and it's explained clearly in the show itself. You don't get that nowadays. They tell you things, they have to spell out everything that is in the scene. Everything that you saw, they have to spell it out word for word nowadays because the powers that be don't think you're smart enough. It's sci-fi. Come on, you're more than smart enough.
Now, before anybody decides to get clever, you should know I have multiple dead man sensors from every culture on my ship and a few cultures I haven't heard of. My heart stops. We all go boom. My heart speeds up, it's boom again. Too hot, too cold, too happy, too sad. Thirsty, hungry, bored, it's John Lee Hooker time. Boom, boom, boom. And you try your little psychic trick. Kaboom. And we're all pushing up Dayglow daisies.
Why do I doubt that?
Because you lack imagination.
I love that insult. That's such a great insult. I think that's just funny. Every time I hear it, you lack it. I love that. It's just delivered so well. You can see and feel the contempt that he has for that character. And that's fantastic. It's not because she's a woman. It's because he just doesn't like her. And he has good reason for that. I'm not giving away too much more, but there's a good reason for that. But again, he's now given us the entire scenario. Why aren't the bad guys just grabbing him? Everybody wants him. Why aren't they just capturing him right now? Well, now we know. Very clear, very simple. You don't get that. That's what we don't get today in sci-fi. Let's go on.
What do you want?
What do I want? What do I want? I have not been chasing my ass all over the galaxy trying to pull out chunks of my brain. I have not been sneaking fembots and screeths into the places where I live. You want something! You want what's inside my head. You want what I know about wormholes. Because I can leap tall galaxies in a single bound. I can scorch planets with a wave of my hand, and you, and you, and you. You can't do jack.
That's not true.
Oh, really? You command the stars to do your bidding. I know you can't. And you can't. And you can't. And you won't. But I have.
Then why are you here?
Because I am an American. What does an American want? Democracy?
I love it. I am an American. And what do Americans want? Capitalism. You gotta love that line and the way that he delivers it. It's fantastic.
Capitalism! I want to sell out and settle down. For one day only, it's a blue light special on aisle 3. My wormhole technology and free set of steak knives for all the tea in China. And anything you can imagine to pay me.
Pay?
Yes, pay! Cash. He's crazy.
Isn't it fun?
Welcome to my Cold War.
Okay, so that happens to be Farscape. All right, and that little scene that you just watched there, I think it's great. And that gives you a sense of the idea. He's crazy. Isn't that fun? Actually, yes. And the show is fun. And they built into that. Now, again, that's season 4, but you can see the nuances there. He's vested into his character. We can get invested in that character. At that point, I find it so funny and so interesting because I have so many memories of this series. And I know what that character has gone through, trials and tribulations. He's right. Everyone is chasing him across the galaxy. And he wants to go home. He wants to just settle down. He doesn't want the problems. But they don't care. And he knows they don't care. And they're willing to kill him and anyone else around him if they can get the one thing that, like he said, it's the wormhole technology. And they don't care about anything else. They just want that. And he's just trying to find a way to get out of the situation, which is fantastic. Now you're saying, but Mike, none of these people are Scorpius. None of these, some of them kind of look maybe like Scorpius. Scorpius is obviously an alien, and this is about aliens in space, but that's not explaining how is Scorpius such a great character. And again, folks, if you have questions, just type in the comments. Tell me whatever you think. If you have a question, if you disagree, whatever it is. I'm looking forward to the chat. Well, the thing about Scorpius is that, there we go. Scorpius is this guy. He is the preeminent bad guy. I think he is incredibly well acted by a guy named Wayne Pygram. This was recorded all in Australia. Ben Browder, he's Canadian. Everyone else are all Australians. It was taped down in Australia. They have some great actors down there. And you probably know Wayne Pygram best from Star Wars Episode 3. And in there he portrays Grand Moff Tarkin. So You only see him for a couple of seconds, but a lot of people recognize him from that. He did that. He's been in a couple of shows, mostly down in Australia, but he's a very, very good actor. And when we look at Scorpius, he's a half Sebacean, half Scaran peacekeeper, which explains the way he looks. But that also tells us that he has some weaknesses and he has some strengths. You can't lie to him. He can see if you're lying. You can't disguise yourself from him. He can see your aura. He sees basically your heat signature. And so he can tell if you're a human or if you're a Sebacean or if you're some other type of alien. And again, that's how he can tell if you're lying to him. He's incredibly strong. Far, far stronger than a regular human. Far stronger than most of the other creatures in the series that we see. He has problems with his heat. He wears armor everywhere. He's a very odd, matter of fact, he's a singular being. Scorpius is not a race or a species. He's a mutant. He's a freak. He is by himself in the universe. He is alone, which is very interesting because John Crichton is basically alone. There are no other human beings. And so that's one of the key elements that we get in great heroes. What are some of the things that make a great hero? Well, great heroes, as a matter of fact, let me type that in. Let me ask everyone here who's watching. What is it that you think makes a great hero? Let me ask one other thing. What makes a great villain? Now, if you're not watching live, and probably most people will see it afterwards, leave it in the comments, but what is it? Well, they're kind of the same things, because very often we'll see that the good guy is a mirror image of the bad guy. That the greater the bad guy is, the greater the good guy is. And they're very often mirror images or even the same thing. We saw that in the movie Unbreakable with Samuel Jackson and Bruce Willis. And they kind of went through that there. You have Mr. Glass, who easily had his bones broken no matter what he would do. And you have Bruce Willis's character, who would be, he's super invulnerable. He's almost impossible to break his skin, break his bones. So they're complementary, they're at opposite ends. But often you see of similarity. And we get that with Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. Darth Vader is very evil. He's a bad guy. Luke Skywalker is innocent. He is naive. He's a good guy. Vader is smart. He's worldly. And Luke Skywalker isn't. He's very isolated. He's very naive about the world and the universe. They're mirror opposites of each other, at least at the beginning when we first get introduced to them. Lex Luthor and Superman, very similar. Again, Superman from a small town. Lex Luthor from a big, well, he was also in Smallville, but from a bigger city. He's a corporate guy. And Clark Kent is a poor farmer. They live at different ends of the spectrum. We get the same thing here with Scorpius. Scorpius is, they're both scientists. They're both intelligent characters. That's important. They're not dumb. They're not brute forcing their way through every single thing they do. And that's important. Scorpius is one of those intelligent villains. He thinks. He plans. He has plans upon plans upon plans. He's prepared. He's anticipative. He's patient, which you don't see a lot in a lot of bad guys, especially nowadays. Things happen 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There's no time to build things up. No, Scorpius will wait. He will take advantage of the opportunities that comes to him. He will plan to create opportunities for himself so that he can take advantage of them. He's observing everyone around him. He knows when people are lying to him. He can use his strength because most people don't realize how strong he is if he needs to. But Scorpius isn't a physical character. Think about it. Darth Vader isn't a physical character. Yes, he can fight. Yes, he can use the Force. He's not physical. His intimidation comes from who he is and the fact that you know he can do things to you. We can see that in many of the bad guys out there. You think about the Joker. The Joker isn't physically intimidating. He's not some super-powered, invincible character. It's that you know he can do things to you, that his insanity allows him to think in ways you just can't, and to do things you would never think of doing, and he would do it in a heartbeat. That's where the danger comes. The Joker isn't stupid, he's also not physical. And it's because of that intelligence and that willingness to do things you wouldn't do, that ruthlessness, that creates the air of intimidation. We get that with Scorpius. Scorpius is intelligent. He is ruthless. And if he has to be physical, he can. And he can be compelling in his physicality. He is more than capable of dealing with most threats in that manner, but he doesn't need to resort to that. In fact, he tries to avoid doing that, just like all of the great villains out there. It's not about physicality. No one's afraid of Lex Luthor and his physicality, or Joker. In fact, not even Darth Vader. You're not worried about how they can physically attack you. You're more worried about what they're going to do, not their physicality, but what they have set up, the situation they're going to put you in. Think about part of the reason when I point to Darth Vader and people go, well, you know, he's very physical because he fights. Well, no. Think about in The Empire Strikes Back, when he's in Bespin dealing with Lando Calrissian. Darth Vader, his threat is that he kept changing the deal on Cloud City. It always went worse. No matter what happened, he found a reason, an excuse, to make it that much worse for Lando, that much better for the Empire. He took more and more power. Didn't matter what the deal was before, and Lando could never fight back. No matter what was being said, the Empire was coming. The Empire was going to take it all. And Lando was desperate because he was afraid, because if the Empire couldn't take it all, he'd just kill everyone. Vader even makes that threat in the movie. They have no options. He's removed their options. And we see that very much with what we see with Scorpius. He thinks. He plans. From the first time that we see him in the series, in the first season, going all the way forward, he's always thinking, he's always planning. It's not about him as a brute force that we do know, and we have seen in the series. He can be physical, but it's about him thinking, about him making plans, having backup plans to his backup plan, that he's always trying to achieve his goal, and it doesn't matter what it takes to achieve that goal, he will get there. That, I think, is incredible. I think that's very, very powerful about him, especially when we know he's alone. He has nothing else to go to. He has no friends because he's hated. The aliens that make up who Scorpius is, the mutant that Scorpius is, he's half Sebastian, which looks like a human being, and he's half Scarran, which is a big, huge lizard creature. Okay. Which is why he looks so scarred, so disfigured, so disformed. And again, this is something we see with most of the great bad guys. Darth Vader is disfigured. He's disformed. Joker is disfigured. He's disformed. Two-Face is disfigured. He's disformed. There are many, many of the great villains in history. They all have that same separation. They're never going to be seen as beautiful, both internally as well as externally. They're not people that you look upon with love and joy and connection. You're separate from them. And they are isolated in the world. They're isolated in the universe, which leaves them to just, there's no one else they can rely on. There's no one they call their friend or that they truly trust. No, it's just them. And so they have to be the best. They have to be the one in charge, the one with the power. They have to, because they're the only one. And they don't have enough trust in their fellow human being, their fellow creature next to them. They don't trust anyone to help them lift them up. So rather than lift others with them, they claw on top of everyone. They drag anyone else down to raise themselves up. These are some of the tenets we see in all of the great villains. And again, Scorpius is that great character. And they dominate with their mind. They dominate with their situation. I'll give you another example of what I'm talking about. Again, this is from the first season of Farscape. And at this point, Scorpius has done something to John. John doesn't know. John Crichton, our protagonist, the human being, he doesn't know what Scorpius has done to him, but he knows Scorpius did something to mess with his mind. It's some kind of mind control that's going on. Scorpius knows exactly what it is. But Scorpius, like every villain, has a weakness. In fact, just like all heroes, they have a weakness, and it can be exploited. For Scorpius, it's heat. His body gives off a huge amount of heat that he actually is dangerous to him. It could kill him if he doesn't get rid of the excess heat. And so that's one of his weaknesses. Crichton has taken advantage of that. Taken advantage of that weakness. He's set up a plan. But Scorpius has a backup. He has a backup for it. And let me show you what I'm talking about in the series. And again, this is in the first season. There are some spoilers here. But it's in the first season, and you can see the elements of how far ahead Scorpius is thinking.
You have no idea.
Where is it? Look at that face. Who loves that face? That is a face only a mother can love. And in fact, the only being that truly has ever loved Scorpius, one of his other fatal flaws is he loves his mother. Scorpius, without a doubt, absolutely, above anything and everything else in the universe, he loves his mother. She's dead. He loves her memory. He loves everything about her, which is one of the motivating factors in his life. He's not a nice man. He's a bad guy through and through, but he loves his mom. And she loved him, even though he looked like that, which is kind of funny. But go on.
You have no idea how patient I have been for this moment.
Since I got you here, tell me, what the hell did you put in my head?
Some awareness. A neurobiotracer. Call it what you like.
So he's giving you some of the technical knowledge that he has, what he's done to John. He planned ahead. He did something to him throughout the series. In this first season, he did something knowing and planning for the future. But not only is he smart, and not only does he have a plan, and we can see his plans are things that he has patience for. He will wait to get the answer. He will wait until he can get the result that he wants. But we're also seeing the physical strength. You saw how, John Crichton, he's a regular size, he's about like a 6 foot tall man, regular height and weight of most people on Earth. And Scorpius is lifting him with one hand. He's incredibly strong. But he's not trying to be overly violent. He's making his point. We've seen him. He opened the door, something Crichton could not do. He has incredible strength. He's lifting Crichton with one hand. He has incredible strength. If he wanted to kill Crichton right now, he could do so. But he has a plan. And he has patience. He doesn't want to kill Crichton. He wants his plan. He has a goal. He wants his objective. And that's more important than anything else. And he's showing us this. In just a few seconds, we're getting this information very clearly that there's more going on here than we think. Do you see scenes like this in Ahsoka? Do you see scenes like this in The Mandalorian? Do you see that in most anything in TV or in movies today? No. They're too busy trying to get to the next scene. They're too busy trying to get to the next action scene rather than letting you get to understand why is the bad guy a bad guy and what kind of a bad guy is he. So let's go on with the scene.
A tiny chip. A tiny seed that's been growing in your brain. Touching every aspect of your personality, your memory.
Didn't happen to see Louis Johnson, did ya?
And whispering advice. I trust. It's helped save you once or twice since escaping my gamut base.
Oh, what's the matter, Scorpy?
You don't look too good.
Neither do you, Crichton. I got a piece of you and me, now you got a piece of me and you. Change it. Change it now.
Scorpius.
I did tell you, Scorpius has a weakness. He does have a weakness, and he is an alien. So, obviously, Scorpius is an alien. He has a weakness, the heat, as I mentioned. And one of Scorpius's allies, one of the bad guys, got killed in a trap that Crichton tried to set against Scorpius, but it didn't work.
You cannot let me die any more than I can sacrifice you. That's what you're telling my mind. But I think I'll give it a shot. No, you save me. No? Now take one. Take it. Take it. Take it. Now it's at
The mind control. This is the long-term planning with Scorpius. He's using his mind control, his ability to manipulate, his plans coming together, giving him control of John Crichton like he wanted. And it's also going to save his life. It's his backup plan. And here it is. He's relying on Crichton, someone who thinks of him as the ultimate evil. And John Crichton is being compelled to try and help what he thinks is the devil. And he's fighting it with all of his might.
Get it. Inside the rod. Inside the rod. Insert it. Inside the rod. You're really not my dice. Die! You grotesque bastard! Even it means I die too. Neither one of us can die. Oh, say, can you see? I command you by the mountain.
John Crichton is ever the American, and it's being an American that gives him the capability, the strength to resist the mind control of what he considers to be Satan. And Satan is weak and defeated and dying before him. That's impressive. He's just a man, John Crichton. But we can see the power dynamic. And our bad guy isn't invincible. He's not inevitable. He's not like in the Matrix where he's the program. He's not inevitable. He can be beaten. He can be defeated. He does have weaknesses, which makes him more powerful in my mind. I think that makes him better. Darth Vader can be hurt. He can be killed. That makes him more powerful, I think. The Joker can easily be hurt. He can be killed. It makes them more powerful because they don't have the fears we have. That's intimidating. The Joker will jump off of a building just because. That's intimidating. Darth Vader will wade into armies, his confidence, as we saw before. He's on one end of the hallway, as we saw in Rogue One. Where is it? Where's that Rogue One? There it is. Rogue One. It's Darth Vader, one man, facing off against a small squad of these rebel soldiers. They're all firing. They have laser pistols. There's 10 of them? And he's wiping them out. They are terrified by them. The moment he turns on that red lightsaber, they are terrified. Look at that. Fear that they have. Ultimate, abject fear. And all Vader did... We know what it is. It's Vader. That's right. It's turn on the lightsaber. He was just breathing and turned on his lightsaber, and they were terrified. They knew they were done. But one good blaster bolt, and Darth Vader is done. He's easy to kill. You just gotta shoot him once or twice. Get through the armor, and he's as dead as any other human being. They have more than enough laser pistols to be able to shoot him, to kill him, technically. But he has too much confidence. He knows how powerful he is, and he wins. So we're kind of seeing that same thing with Scorpius, the same kind of thing that we're seeing in this scene. Scorpius has plans, but he can be defeated, and I think that's really great. I think if you were to watch the series, the actor, his name is Wayne Pygram, okay? And I think he does a phenomenal job with this character. If you've listened to, and I have listened to any of the interviews he's done about this character, about Scorpius, about the background of the character, what he put into him, the mannerisms, the reason why he speaks the way he does, the way he holds himself, the costume, the uniform that he had. There's a lot of thought put into this. This is a very deep character. He's like an onion, and he has more and more layers, kind of like Dr. Doom. Yet another one, Dr. Doom is another one of these great villains where we see someone who is disfigured, who is covered in armor, someone who is detached from the rest of the world, who is alone, the only one of his kind, and yet immensely powerful. He has weaknesses. He is just another man. They can die. But yet, his mind, his plans, his capability put him above everyone else. And he has a plan that must come true. That Dr. Doom is driven by his goals, and he will get there through hook or crook. It doesn't matter. We see that again in Scorpius. These are the elements of greatness. And I say again, and I've been saying, what modern TV show in sci-fi do you see this same kind of character? You don't. Whether it's in a movie or TV show, you're not getting these kind of characters. So as we are going back further and further, the more that we are seeing our television shows become more woke, they're being made for modern audiences that don't exist. People are retreating back into the classics, the things that we know. We're going back to the original Star Trek, the original Star Wars. We're going to Space 1999. Yes, I remember that show. Or the old UFO. That was actually a great series back in the 60s. I'm not that old, but I remember that series. These are where our classic heroes are, and I think it's really fantastic. Here's something, when I was thinking about how I would present this, and I know it's live and it may not be in order, this is just me speaking with you, but when I was doing some research and I wanted to see, and I wanted to share with you something that I saw, this is off of Reddit, talking about, because they agree that, well, they look at Scorpius and they're saying, well, he's the best anti-hero. He's not per se a villain. Now, that goes into, you have to know the entire series of Farscape. Is he a hero or anti-hero? There's some discussion about that. I tell you right up front, he's a villain. He's not an anti-hero. He's not just someone who does bad things for a good reason. Scorpius is a bad guy. regardless of the outcome. Yes, for Scorpius, the ends justify the means, but he's a bad guy, not an anti-hero. But, and some would even say that Scorpius, as this one individual says, is a better character than Darth Vader. Now, I think that's a little difficult, and it depends on how much material, how much of the movies and the other. Are you looking at the video games, the book series? Are you looking at everything about Vader, or are you just looking at the mainstream movies that we've seen? That gives you different context. There's more in the television series of Farscape, giving us more insight and more opportunities to see Scorpius. Again, he's in 61 out of 88 episodes of a series that lasted for 4 years. Initially, we only had 3 movies with Darth Vader. Then it became 6. That's it. We didn't have, and he wasn't the only thing on the screen. He wasn't the only force moving things forward. I mean, the first 3 movies in the prequel series, that's him becoming Darth Vader, not him as Darth Vader. As Darth Vader, we only had 3 movies, only 2 of which where he's actually Darth Vader. The last, he obviously switches sides. He joins with his son. He goes back to the light. So we don't really get to see the darkness of Darth Vader. So there is an argument that can be made there. But I found this USA Gizero says, I totally agree. One thing I noticed, the more we learn about Vader Anakin, the less impressive he became. But the opposite is true about Scorpius. Usually characters like that can lose their mystique or power the more we get to know them. But Scorpius got more interesting and more threatening. This is one of the reasons why I think he's such a great villain. That as we go deeper into the onion, when we get in the iceberg, we go deeper into the iceberg, we learn more about this character, he becomes more engaging. We find out about how he becomes more alone, more isolated, more unique, more desperate, and more sad in a lot of ways. And yet, the way he makes his choices, the choices that he does make, set him firmly as a villain. He chooses to be the villain. He chooses to seek out power. He has a goal, and it doesn't matter what gets in his way, he will achieve that. He has no friendships. He has no love other than for his mother, who is dead. No other love. He only has his goal, his mission, his desire, and that's it. I think that's very interesting as we learn more and more about why he has these things. Again, what makes a villain great? That they're alone? That they are singular in their purpose? When they are unique in their universe? Or very few of them exist, such as with the Sith? There's very few. They're unique in their essence, in their existence. They're not duplicated or copied with ease. They have a special place where they stand, whether it's because of their criminality or their violence or their plans, their intelligence, the way that they manipulate and use others. They set themselves apart. They have a weakness. They can be beaten. They're not invulnerable. And their weaknesses are known to people. You know you can take out the Joker. You know you can take out Vader. You know you can take out Lex Luthor. These aren't people that are impossible. And yet you dread them. They have an element of fear, of intensity, of purpose, of intimidation about them because of how they exist. And this is because they are written well. They are written with depth. They're not dumbed down. Other people in the universe aren't idiots and allow them to get away with things just because they're that stupid. That's not the case, you know? And I think that's an important difference. Scorpius and many of the great bad guys are good because they are capable, because they are efficient and they are effective. And that's part of what makes them intimidating, because in our real lives, we're not always effective or efficient. Life isn't effective or efficient. Very often it's chaotic and it's miserable, it's ineffective or inefficient. We make the wrong choice and we waste our resources, we waste our time. It happens. But when we're talking about the bad guys, the ones that really capture our attention, the ones that we love to hate, they make most of the right decisions. They are effective, better than we could be with the same resources, with the same skills. They're making better decisions. They're making better plans. They're thinking better, and they're more efficient and effective at what they get done. They intimidate us because they are better at being us. They're better than we are. They're better than we can. I may be smart, they're smarter. I may be effective at this, they are better. I may have plans, they have more plans and better plans and plans that work. That's the difference between a good, effective bad guy versus a good guy. And I know, by the way, I keep saying bad guy. It could be a bad woman. I don't care. Male, female, it doesn't matter. We're talking about villains. If the word guy, bad guy, gets you hung up, that's your problem, not mine. But anyway, I think that's important to understand why. And again, I keep referring to Darth Vader. It's because he was at least number 3 greatest villain of all time, according to AFI's 100-year ranking of heroes and villains in movies. Number 3 in the history. And he still remains a massive, even though I think we have seen the Disney Star Wars has detracted from him. They've taken him down a peg or two because people don't love Star Wars as much as they used to. But I think Vader is still iconic. Again, when he showed up, Rogue One made nearly $1 billion because Darth Vader was in the show for what, 2 minutes? Because at the very end, Darth Vader shows up, and the last couple of minutes are of Darth Vader. And everyone wanted to see Darth Vader dominating, destroying, just ultimately decimating a bunch of rebels. Just walking through them as if they didn't exist. Everyone wanted to see that scene. That is the draw. That's the reason why people went to see Rogue One. It wasn't for the forgettable characters that no one knew and no one cared about, that all died and have no importance in Star Wars. If you didn't know their name, it wouldn't matter. In fact, the entire story of Rogue One is useless. We never had it. We went 40 years from the Star Wars when it came out in the 70s, and I was alive for this, and became an overnight blockbuster. That series never had Rogue One. That's a modern thing. That's a Disney thing. That's recent. It went 40 years plus. Never told that story because it's not important. None of those characters are important. The only character that's important, Darth Vader. That was important. And what was important about Darth Vader? How much you would fear him. And we get that from Scorpius. We get that same exact thing from Scorpius. Again, you can always go and look at my coverage about the one villainous scene, Rogue One, talking about Darth Vader. And if you understand how much I love Darth Vader and why he's so iconic, not just because of the 2003 American Film Institute 100 Years ranking, not just because they actually put him on churches. He's up there with the gargoyles in churches. He's been a character that has been quoted and duplicated and referred to in real life over and over again. I hold Darth Vader up there. He is, I definitely think, in the top 2 villains of all time for me. And I still would put Scorpius in the top 5 of all the villains and villainous characters that I can think of throughout all of history. He's incredible. And there are many people who also. It's because of the intelligence. He's physically powerful, scientifically advanced, a hybrid of some of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. He has a moral basis. He's not immoral, or he's maybe per se amoral. He definitely doesn't share our morals, but he has a code that is very different than anyone else's, but he has his own code. So does Lex Luthor, so does Darth Vader, so does every great villain. They all have a code. Many of them are amoral, some are immoral, but there is a code. There is that guiding line. It is the thought that has been put into these characters that make us remember them and love them. This is another Reddit post that when I was researching, thinking of things I could say about this to try and make you understand why I think Scorpius is such a great character. They said here, for me, I think it's his witty intelligence. Even when he's talking crap, he's funny. His lines are perfectly delivered, and verbal volley between him and Crichton is so well matched, it's hard to know who holds the upper hand. I think due to this, he never takes a cowed position. Even in his defeats, he never truly feels like he has lost. And I think that's what makes him a villain. You don't want to meet his demise. I even grew to absolutely love him. And that's something I think that's worth talking about. See, we love Thanos. Thanos was a great villain. Everybody enjoyed Thanos because he's smart. And he's physically intimidating. He can fight the Hulk hand to hand and win. He's capable in science. He has a great amount of knowledge. He's long lived. He lives over 1,000 years old, and we're not sure that he could be possibly immortal. He is feared amongst many species throughout the galaxy. Those that know him fear him. And he has proven himself in battle and through his goal, his mindset. He has a moral code. He has a goal. We think it's amoral. We think he's immoral, in fact. But he has a code. He has his ethics. He has a mission, a plan. And we loved watching that character and executing that. Another great character, this is Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Elim Garak. Garak on Deep Space Nine is a great character. This is a character who was also expected only to be a one-time character, but the producers, the executives, the writers, they watched the fan reaction and they gave us more of what we wanted, not less. They gave us what we thought was good, that had the potential. The audience could see it. They could see what was down the line, and they fed into it, like they did with Scorpius. This is a different world. This is back in 1999. The 1990s, we had studios and production companies that would pay attention to the public. We don't have that anymore. That's why we have characters that no one cares about anymore. They're on the screen and then they're gone, and no one cares about them. Do you know who is the main bad guy in Ahsoka? Do you know who is the bad guy in The Acolyte? Do you know who it was in Echo? Did he even watch Echo? Most people haven't. And I know I'm picking on Disney, but these are some of the bigger profile TV shows that you've probably heard about. There's at least several dozen you have no idea. They didn't make an impact. They're there for a season, maybe two, and maybe you saw it, but most likely you didn't, and no one cares. Did you see Twisted Metal? I did. It was on Peacock. I thought it was incredibly stupid. It was based on a video game, very poorly. Sweet Tooth is the best character in that entire show. He's supposed to be one of the villains. He's not. He's kind of an anti-hero. I like Sweet Tooth. I like the acting. I like the character. I like what they did with him. The rest of the show is crap. Guess what? Well, virtually no one saw that because it was on Peacock. And it's the Twisted Metal TV show. It was a joke. It wasn't very well made at all. Almost everyone was there just to get a check. But that's the thing. That's what we get most of the television out there. Yeah, that's kind of goofy and it's kind of interesting for a niche, small group of people. Will like it, and maybe we have just enough people for it to get a season 2. Sometimes not. But it's not something that the masses are going to be watching. It's not something that people love. It's not something that's going to be around long term. And quite honestly, if I wasn't thinking about this, I would never have remembered Twisted Metal. I forgot about it for a long time. And only until just now, talking about these characters, did I remember it. So, and we have in Deep Space Nine, in Garrick, here we have a character. He's a spy. He has a mysterious past. He's a dark character. He's an anti-hero. He has his own code of conduct. He is willing to do things most of us would never want to do or know having been done. He's the reason for one of the greatest episodes of Star Trek, which is his interaction with Sisko, the captain of Deep Space Nine. One of the fantastic ones. I think that's the Dark Moon. It was fantastic. But, instead we get characters like Chimere. What's Chimere's motivation? He wants an acolyte. That's it. Chimere, the supposed main villain of the acolyte. They spent $180 million. This is a stupid amount of money. This is the amount of money they put into major summer movies, blockbusters, get $180 million. They did that for 8 episodes. Was anything outstanding about that? No. Now, I know there's a lot of backlash right now. Oh my God, they canceled it because there are a bunch of, racists and ists and phobes. It was a bad show. Why? Because look at what we've been saying about all the bad guys. What is Chimere? Does he have a code? We have no idea. Does he have a goal? We have no idea. We know he wants an acolyte. Okay, so what? But what's he going to do with that acolyte? What's his goal in life? Is he effective at anything he's trying to do? Is he efficient at anything he's trying to do? The answer to these things are no. He's very poorly written, and he has nothing of interest about him. Yes, he uses the Force. Okay, and a lot of people use the Force. It's not the first person we've ever seen using the Force. He doesn't do anything that we've never seen before in the Force. He's not special in that way. He's not unique in the universe or in the history of Star Wars. He's not unique. He's not special. So there's nothing there. He doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have a goal that he has in mind. He's just trying to make it through the next day. He's just another person in a universe. Nothing special about him whatsoever. So why do we care? That's part of the reason why the series failed. Because we don't care. There's nothing to look forward to. Because there's no plan. There's no end point. There's no goal. He wouldn't do anything different than anyone else. I could be Chimere and I'd do the same things, if not better than him. Because he's not special. He's not unique. He offers nothing. These are the bad guys. These are the heroes. You can go and watch The Acolyte if you want to. You and 50,000 other people may want to watch that, and you'll be dissatisfied. You'll have wasted $20 and 8 hours of your life. You could watch the first season of Farscape, and you would be far more satisfied. You'll get more of what you want, entertainment, more of an investment in the characters. You'll be more driven, in part because you actually have a good bad guy. You have a character that is a driving force, someone you want to follow, someone that intimidates, that has a plan, that has a goal. I think these are incredibly important things. You have Grand Admiral Thrawn. Yet another example. I know I'm pulling a lot of people from Disney, but they're the easiest example of some of the things I'm talking about. And quite honestly, probably the few characters that I could point to right now that most people will actually know of. You've heard about these. There's 2 dozen different TV shows out there. You haven't heard of any of them. So I'm going with the characters you might have heard about. Grand Admiral Thrawn is yet another character. In the books, the extended universe of Star Wars that no longer exists, he was a great character. Everyone was looking forward to seeing him because he was unique in the universe, because he had a plan, because he was intelligent, because he was capable, and he was more efficient and more effective than everyone around him. These are the elements that make great villains, and in the books, he is a great villain. In the TV series Ahsoka, he's a bumbling fool. He's useless. Every time, everything he does, he fails. Everything he did, he failed. Nothing worked for him. And it's just that the universe was so inept around him. Was he able to get any modicum of success, that he was able to leave the galaxy and go on? But it wasn't because our heroes were just that bad at being heroes. They were just marginally worse than he was. But his plans, ultimately, every single one failed. We had no intimidation. We didn't respect him. We didn't fear him. He's unique in his failure. Actually, he's not unique in his failure. Everyone failed in that series. So he's not unique in that sense. He was unique that he's blue, okay, but that's not enough. Not to say that every bad guy has to be disfigured. Not to say that every bad guy has to be ugly, or both externally as well as internally. A lot of these, our greatest bad guys are internally. They're ugly people internally. They're twisted and damaged and disfigured internally as well as externally. Just like with Dr. Doom, many people will say. His face is perfectly. He has a slight scratch. But for Dr. Doom, his internal image of himself is so disfigured because of that scratch that he hides his entire face behind a mask because he thinks he is disfigured, that he is marked and hideous because he is hideous internally. That's the thing about Dr. Doom. Not everybody who watches these current incarnations, and probably what we're going to see with Robert Downey Jr. playing Dr. Doom, I hope they portray the fact that he has a slight imperfection to his face, and because of his own internal damage, Doom thinks that makes him look hideous. And it's just, that's his expression of his internal feelings to the rest of the world. And I think that's important. But we get none of that. None of the depth, none of the things that I've been talking about. We get none of that in talking about Grand Admiral Thrawn. He has no success. It's not that Scorpius does fail. We have seen people defeat Scorpius time after time. He does have plans, and those plans don't work out for him. It's not like he's always successful. It's not like everything he plans works perfectly. It doesn't. The good guys do beat him. And then he has a backup plan. And then he comes back. And then he resurges, he regroups, he plans, and he moves forward. That's the difference between him and, say, a Grand Admiral Thrawn. Scorpius will regroup. He lost a battle, not the war. And Scorpius knows that. And everyone surrounding Scorpius quickly understand, you may win a battle. That doesn't mean you've won the war. Scorpius has one goal, and he will attain that no matter what. Setbacks aren't a problem. Grand Admiral Thrawn, he is the setback. There is no success. There is nothing to cheer or look forward to. There's no great plan. You just have to be lucky. If you're luckier than him on any given day, he loses because he has no plan. He has no backup. He's just a failure. And I mean, we can go through this with many of, and again, looking at Marvel and a lot of their characters, they're forgettable. I mean, this is from Men's Health magazine, one of the most recent. The Marvels came out this year, 2024. Dar-Ben. Most people don't even know she exists. But she's a woman. Yay, diversity. Who cares? No one cares. Not a factor. Doesn't matter. She's useless. As they said in this article, where is it? They wanted to say that The Marvels was a movie that very much felt like a throwback to the hot streak peak of the MCU. No, it wasn't. That's why it lost money. It absolutely was not going back to the days of the hot streak. It wasn't. It failed. Everyone rejected this movie. The villain was unfortunately the weakest part of the movie. Think about it. If the movie was an abject failure that no one wanted to see, that no one cared about, why? Because the villain was the weakest part of the movie. A failed movie with a weak villain. There you go. Excuse me. Dar-Ben, who's just another Kree villain. Yet another. Again, not unique, not special, not someone of interest. She's a generic evil. No character is wrapped around her whatsoever. That just tells you, you don't care about her. You don't care about her plans. She's not important. She's not unique. She's not special. Now, this isn't something, and I'm not picking on Dar-Ben because she's a woman. She's just part of a list of men and women that no one cares about. They're useless. They're horrible characters. Horrible. But I did want to address another thing, because modern days, you have to have shipping. You have to be able to ship the bad guy. And for those who don't know what shipping is, it's been around for a while. It's fan fiction. It's fan fiction where a group of people will fantasize about various characters in a series, a movie, a book, whatever it may be. It could be a comic book, it could be a video game, whatever the entertainment may be. And these fan fictions, these fanfics, are filled with, whether it be artwork or stories, trying to put together characters that these particular fans like. And very often they'll try and combine the good guy and the bad guy and put them in a relationship. Whether it's gay or straight, it doesn't matter. Or they'll try and get this one side character and they'll say, oh, what if they were all together with this other character? And we see this often. And this is where we get the Reylos, where you get a Rey Palpatine and you get Kylo Ren, and they put them together and they get Reylo. Oh, isn't that so wonderful? Rey Palpatine should have been with Ben Skywalker. They should have been a couple together. Why? He killed his own dad in front of her eyes. Someone that she was taking as a father figure. Why would she ever want to be together with him? They had no interactions of any real worth. They don't know each other. For 2/3 of the time that they've known each other, which is only, what, a week or two? Maybe a year? Ben Solo, Kylo Ren's been trying to kill her. Why would they want to get together? How did he redeem himself? What did he do that was so redemptive? There's just nothing there. But yet, there are fans that go, they wanted the Reylo. That's the reason why in Rise of Skywalker, a very, very flawed movie, that's why they wound up kissing. Because of the fan fiction, because of the shipping. We saw that in The Acolyte as well. Why is one of the twins, I don't remember, I think it's May, I don't care. But one of the twins is with Chimera. Who cares? Oh, they're holding hands. Who cares? They're evil people. They're the bad guys. I don't care if they're in love. It doesn't make it more interesting to me at all. They're evil. They kill innocents. Chimera had killed, what, half a dozen Jedi, the good guys, just because they happened to be where he was at the same time? Half a dozen of them? And you're worried about whether or not he holds hands with another set of bad guys? The villainesses? The twins? I'm sorry, I don't get it. Someone who is willing to set fire to an entire building and let their family burn to the ground, given who would expect rock to burn, but it did. And she set fire to the entire complex, killed everyone, told her sister, you can't live your life, you can't make choices, you have to die instead. That's incredibly selfish. That's incredibly evil. And they're jumping up and down for joy and they're screaming because they won't be able to see these two evil characters get together and kiss. That's compelling. That's a reason why we should have a season 2. Makes no sense. But for those people who must see a good guy and a bad guy, they have to see their bad guy with someone else. They have to have an extra relationship. They can't watch movies with they're not seeing that represented on the screen. Fantastic. Guess what? We even have that. Scorpius has a girlfriend. Well, sort of a girlfriend. I don't know if I would say that. But Rayleigh Hill, who plays Sakuza, often called Sakuzu, that's this young woman here. And this is the different way she's been portrayed on the show, the different looks that she's had throughout the seasons and the movies. And I like this look. This one with the black leather and the shorter hair, I like that look. That's a good look for her. I like the long hair down, but that short hair look, that works. And she's Scorpius's girlfriend, kind of. Well, they're kind of friends with benefits, I think is the best way to put it. And she's untrustworthy. Why is she the girlfriend or the friend with benefits for Scorpius? Because she's untrustworthy, because she's evil, because she's a bad guy. That's why. And there's your ship. You want to ship the bad guys? Here you go. Again, Scorpius qualifies, and he has something unique. It's a special relationship. It's a unique relationship, even in the universe of this series, which is very female-dominated, by the way. These are the women who are leads in the cast. Key characters that you see up here in the top. They're some of the top lead characters essential to the series. So if you're wondering about woman power, yeah, they had that before people were asking about that because it was intrinsic and natural in the story. It wasn't any kind of virtue signaling or posturing. It just happened to be those were the characters they had. That's it. And some of them were good characters. They were the good guys, and then some of them were the bad guys. And it's all in the series. Over and over again. No, I won't actually show this. This is a big spoiler for the end of the series. I was going to talk about it, but I won't. All right. So I've spent an hour and a half. About a half hour longer than I thought it would. I wanted to share this with you guys. And, every Saturday, 3 o'clock, I'm going to make the effort to share some of the things that I love with you in terms of sci-fi. Because man cannot live with politics alone. We need more. And in 2024, we occasionally need something to clear our palates. We need something to take us away from this. This is what entertainment is for. Whether it's a video game, a book, a movie, a TV series, we need something to take us out of the everyday so that we can give ourselves a chance to recharge our batteries, reset ourselves, and to jump back in. Tomorrow, at 2:30, I will be doing my live stream, my political live stream, the Sunday live stream that we've been doing for 7 years now in a row. I will be back at that tomorrow, talking about the things that have happened this week, what's going to be happening with the election, how these policies are going to affect our lives around the world. I'll be happy to do that. But right now, every Saturday, let's take that break. Now, you'll be able to see it on my main channel, which is No Sound Bites Allowed. You can also go to the Old Man in a Digital World. You can go and I'll have links for that afterwards. And you'll be able to go there and see some of the video games I've played and watch me screw up in some of the video games that I'm having fun at. But, you know, I don't do well. I don't pretend to be a gamer. I'm not. I'm not a pro gamer. Never will be. Don't care. Don't care. So you can watch me play and say, Mike, you could have done so much better here or there. And trust me, a lot of people do. Or you can come and see me every Saturday and we'll have a conversation. In the future, as we do this more, you can always chat with me. Send in a message and say, Mike, but I think that, Darth Vader is way, way better. Okay, maybe Garrick. Maybe you thought Garrick in Deep Space Nine is the best. He's better than Scorpius. Maybe you think that. I don't. And maybe we should put those series together, side by side. Look at all of Farscape. Watch the Farscape and watch the DS9. Tell me, who you think's better, Garrick or Scorpius? You tell me. And do they all deserve to be in the top 10 of the greatest sci-fi villains? I think they do. Now, you may rank them different than I do, but I think they absolutely deserve to be in there. But I want to hear what you have to say. And every Saturday at 3 o'clock for about an hour, we'll take a little time out with each other to actually just find that out. Does that sound like fun? I hope it does. It's a different side of me than most people may have seen. It gives you some insight. These are some of the things I do to relax and recharge my batteries. Play video games, watch anime, watch sci-fi, classic sci-fi. I avoid the modern corporate virtue signal. Don't care about that. It's useless. There's very little I think that's actually worthwhile. I don't watch the cable channels. There's just nothing there. But that's me. What about you? I look forward to hearing what you have to say. And I look forward to seeing you every Saturday at 3 o'clock. And let's see where this goes. Okay? Thanks, everyone.